All right, well, good morning, Travis. Good to see all of you today. I'm Major Derek Patrick, along with Major Logan Sutton, and we're here from the AFPC team. So I'm the Chief of Math and Soph Officer Assignments, and I also work the KC10, C5, and KC46 assignments, and then Logan works the C17 assignments. So we're here just to give you guys kind of a brief AFPC roadshow today. It'll be a little bit shorter than the version that we put on Facebook, so we have plenty of time for any of the questions and all the things you guys want to talk about today. So we'll stick around. We got about 2 hours, but the brief should take about 30 minutes, and then the rest of the time is y'all's. Whatever you'd like to ask us, we can address all of those things. So here's kind of what we're going to talk about today. Just go a brief overview of the AFPC team, our assignment philosophy, how we work with some of those things, and then the different factors that we use, whether it's the rate of management, talent marketplace, as well as some hot topics and rumors. So for the AFPC team, it's Major General Craig is our commander right now, followed by Colonel Boyd. And then for the majority of our assignments, we work with Colonel Rockavalis. And after that, it comes down to our branch chief, Colonel Lay, works all the different rated assignments. And then under his supervision, we have us with the math and soft team. And we work closely with the CAF, the white jet team called Pipeline up there, I believe, the rated staff, as well as the CEA, so all the enlisted assignments. For our AO team, you can see all of us up there, so there's about 11 of us for the math and soft assignments. We manage the assignments for about 9,000 officers across all of AMC and AFPSOC. A little bit of quick background, I'll just leave this up here for you guys to read over Mo Koresh and myself. I work the 46, C5, and KC10 assignments. So you can see we have a wide variety of experience from the Global Hawk to the C5, KC10, and C130. And then for the C17, with Logan and Yeager, they've been to the majority of the C17 bases, which is pretty impressive, considering how many there are, as well as done some tours in the AMLO and the UPT world. All right, so some of the different things we work besides just actually writing your assignments, it's actually a very small portion of the time when we're actually writing those assignments is all the coordination that we do behind the scenes to work those for you guys. So we also, there we go. For all the assignments, so we do the ops, white jets, all the staff assignments, everything basically until you're an 06 select. Your AO team here, we're the ones working and writing those assignments, coordinating with your commanders, your group, your wing commanders, and then when you're on staff, the division and directorates, as well as the colonels and NGOs. We work a lot of the OPD behind the scenes, working closely hand in hand with the A1 teams and the J1 teams. For AMC specifically, like the A1K team, and then for AFPSOC, we work with their A1s and their A3s as well to make sure we're matching each of you to the assignments that are best for your professional development and your own specific career goals and your family goals. We also do a lot of the career mentoring and human resource support. So some of the career mentoring we'll do, via phone, email, normal stuff, as well as the roadshows like we're doing today over the next couple of days here with doing all the one-on-ones and things like that for you guys to ask the specific questions for whatever you have going on in your personal life, as well as your kind of career goals, and kind of figure out what the best plan is for each of you moving forward for your next assignment, but then also to think about kind of long-term, whether it's, a couple of years down the road, or you're thinking like 5-10-year game plan, whatever you want to talk about. We're here to, kind of provide all that advice and counsel that we can from our perspective. We also actually manage the PFT for all the training for your FTUs. So we match you to the different like ACIQ, PCO, all those other different type of courses. Your squadrons manage like the internal upgrade timelines and those sort of things, but we actually buy all of the initial quals and then the different IP and AC courses so we can keep you guys all progressing throughout your careers and upgrading on time. Additionally, we do lots of recommendations for like your palace chase separations, DEROs, all those different type of policy things. We as the AO team provide the recommendations for those. We don't actually provide the actual thumbs up, thumbs down approval, but we'll recommend approval or disapproval based on specific situations. So we can get a little bit more into those later on. And then like normal staff, we have all kinds of good hack projects and everything else that that we get to work on. So our assignment philosophy, basically the big picture is we look at all these different inputs, whether it's from your commander, your AFI, your personal preferences, everything else going on, all the way up to the CSAF's rated manning directive. We call it the RMD, that drives the different manning levels for each wing, as well as the different stats. And so we manage all of those to find the right assignment for you at the right place at the right time. It's kind of that's the big challenge, and that's why we get paid all that that extra assignment officer pay. Just kidding, it's just like your aircraft commander pay. There's no raise, but we work all of those different things to try to balance it out and find the absolute best assignment for you while we're actually meeting all the different requirements. And the 4 basic things we follow are right up there. So the mission needs, the members' preferences, the OPD, and then the actual functional prioritization, which kind of falls under that R&D, those manning percentages we have to maintain. So the assignment cycle flow, the easiest way to describe it is basically we look at all the faces, so all of you, and the spaces, the billets, and then we go through, we advertise them through Talent Marketplace. The billet owners get to request the different officers that they want, and then we try to match them all up and try to find the ones that we can figure out where it's the best assignment for each of you, where the billet owner wanted, was your preferences, and it matched the actual manning requirements. Here's the assignment timeline. So right now we're in summer 21. We're actually in the matching window right now, which is over here all the way at the end of October, all the way through the end of January. So we'll be matching assignments, working with your squadron commanders and each of you and all the other staffs as well, all the way through the end of January. And those are to write the assignments and have the report dates coming up at the end of January. So most of you should expect to receive your assignments toward the end of January, but the bulk of them will be right around the 1st to 2nd week of February once we have all the assignments ready. And then for those, let's see. Hopefully, there we go, we didn't end perfect. All right, and then the report dates for those will be June through September. And those might vary a little bit to the left or right of that, just depending if there's additional aircraft training or other things like that. Because we have to make sure that we match them up. Like if you're going to a UPT assignment or something like that, we have to make sure that we can balance out all the pit dates. So it might be a little bit to the left or the right of that. The preponderance of all of them will be in June to September. And then right after that, sorry about that. All right, right after that, we roll right into the winter assignment cycle. And based on the 2 assignment cycles that we have every year now, we're actually working the assignments pretty far in advance. So as you can see, like we'll be doing the initial VML starting in February, right around the corner here after the holidays. But those will be for assignments that aren't having report dates all the way through October through May of next year, May of 22. So don't be surprised if you find yourself on the initial VML or even the final VML early next spring, because those are for people that are 36 months time on station, or even after that. But that's all the way through May of 22. So when you dial that back, you could actually have only been here like a year and a half time on station and find yourself on the VML. Doesn't like this slide on me. There we go. All right, for the different assignments, we kind of have the common assignments up there, as well as some of the more uncommon ones. Basically, for all of you as officers and rated officers, you're going to see the preponderance of your assignments are all flying. There will be a few non-flying assignments out there, but most of them are basically staying in your current MWS and doing an ops-to-ops tour, 2 or 3 of those, as well as a UPT assignment. Most officers moving forward, based on the amount of ATC instructors that we need, are going to probably have a UPT or an OSA assignment in there. The OSA assignments are few and far between, just based on the size of the squadrons and how many squadrons are out there. And we really have a large need for the UPT instructors. So expect, as you go through your career, to probably have a UPT assignment in there for one of those first 3 flying assignments. Sorry about the mic, keeps going out on me. Other common assignments, so you see the AMLO and the CRW world up there. And then later on in your career, if you're interested in staff, the majority of the younger officers, like majors, will go to a MAJCOM or an AOC staff. And then later on in your career, there'll be opportunities for like joint JCS or other MAJCOM staffs down the road. Some of the uncommon assignments are the PH, the Phoenix Horizon programs, WIC, StarNom, CapNoms, the different exec jobs that are out there. And then MWS Crossflow. But the note on that one, it's only for a little while because of the KC-46 that we're onboarding. There'll be a lot of opportunities for crossflow into the 46, as well as other MWSs in the upcoming assignment cycles. OSA, FAO, and some of the other programs up there as well. So the MPEP, the Foreign Personnel Exchange Program, the Flight Standards Agency in Oklahoma, Test Pilot, and then the Officer, Instructor, and Recruiting Special Duty. A lot of those are rare and they're in the uncommon category because we have such a large need for the rated officers flying. We need you in those cockpits, we need you flying. And so because of that, there's not a lot of opportunity to be selected for some of those other things. We'll still let all of you apply for those for the most part whenever we can, but the actual half staff says we can only let a certain number of officers go to those type of jobs. So tips for the best assignment match. Things to think about. What do you want to do? What are you interested for your career, for your family? What kind of priorities do you have? And what are your goals? Are you hoping to, just do 10 years, do your 12-year commitment, 10-year commitment, 12 years, whatever it ends up being, and then go to the airlines? Are you looking to make 05, 06? Do you want to be a commander? What are your goals? It doesn't have to be, hey, I want to do 20 years and then, retire. If that's what you want, that's great. But we definitely need those officers. We also need officers who are willing to fly and work hard right now for a period of time and then transition to whatever else they want. And so as AOs, we want to help set you up for success for whatever your individual plan is. So think about that, and then actually be frank and be real with us and let us know exactly what you want. Communicate to your squadron commander, your supervisor, branch division chief, wherever you're at. And then ultimately, if you're not in a line flight squadron, just come directly to us. So later on in your careers. But right now, your best conduit to work your assignments is through your squadron commander when you're in line flight units. So here's an example of the RMD, the Radio Manning Directive. This one is last year's from 2019. Right now, the 2020 version is actually being signed by our new chief. They're coordinating for that right now. Last year's, you can see that the line and training fly were at 95 to 100%. And this year, we're expecting a reprioritization to have the training units manned to 100%, and then the line and training fly to be 95 to 100% after that. So we'll wait and make sure that is what we actually get sent to by the CSAP. But right now, that's what we're expecting, and we'll see what is actually released. All right, and then I'll hand it over to Logan to talk to you guys about the talent marketplace. All right, check.
Thanks. I guess I'll stand over here so I can be recorded. I should stand underneath the lights that are out so I don't blind you guys with my haircut. But yeah, as DP said, I'm Logan, C-17 functional. I've been here since, at AFPC since the first part of July. So happy to be here. It's my first roadshow, so glad to make it, Travis. Okay, talent marketplace. Who's on this VMO? Anybody? Yeah, talent marketplace. So you guys have lived what I'm about to talk through right now. If you haven't come up on a VML in the last, if you're not on this VML, you probably haven't used Talent Marketplace. Because for the rated folks, I think this is the third time we've used the Talent Marketplace for the VML, but you will use it soon. Right now, all the officers are on Talent Marketplace. The enlisted are going to start being placed in Talent Marketplace during fiscal year 21. So kind of helpful tips for utilizing Talent Marketplace. Make sure you're using Chrome. A lot of times it won't let you use kind of Edge or Explorer, so make sure you're using Chrome. That's the number one troubleshooting tip we have to give out, usually daily or weekly. Just make sure you're using Chrome. Back up all your inputs online. I haven't seen it happen this cycle. Talent Marketplace has done a good job of maintaining everybody's information, but just to give yourself a warm fuzzy, make sure you print off an Excel file of everything that you input in Talent Marketplace. It's eventually going to take over all the traditional AMS functions. I think basically the big one still outstanding is your DT vector, but look for everything to be contained within Talent Marketplace in the near future. Okay, so I talked through most of that already. The big thing on this is, so for the folks who are using Talent Marketplace right now, you can see that billet owners can bid on you for assignments. And kind of a big misconception is that, if I'm bid on, does that mean that I'm going to that assignment? Not necessarily. That's one piece of the information puzzle that we're putting together to place you on an assignment. It's a big piece, but it's not the only piece. I like to think of Talent Marketplace as a three-part communication tool. So the first part is the user profile and your preferences, the stuff that you communicate to us as you're filling out your goals, your professional goals, your personal goals, as well as what locations you want to pursue and jobs you would like to pursue. So that's one piece of the communication. The second piece is your squadron commander comments, your losing commander comments. So just like you communicate your preference, your squadron commander is going to communicate to us at AFPC where they see you succeeding in the future. And the third part is the billet owner comments. So everybody who builds a requisition within Talent Marketplace, those jobs that you're trying to go to, they can place a bid on you. You will only see that you were bid, but those bids are actually rank ordered. So just because you're bid on them doesn't necessarily mean you're going to go to that job. We could be sending 3 people to that job or that squadron, and you were maybe 9 out of 10 bids. So it doesn't necessarily mean it's going to go there. One piece of the puzzle. Okay, so as a losing commander, a losing CC, so you need to make sure that your subordinate selects you, if we have any commanders in here. But just as subordinates, make sure that you're selecting your squadron commander, or whoever your commander is, whether you're working on the group or the wing. Make sure you select that commander in your profile as your losing commander. That way, that enables them to go into Talent Marketplace and input their comments for you. There's also a new functionality where they can gain you without you doing it, but just help them out and make sure that you just use a drop down, search for their name, and put their name in there as your losing commander. For billet owners, like I said, they create the requisitions, they fill out all the job description information in Talent Marketplace, the things that you as a user are looking at to determine whether you want to go to that job. So if you're a billet user or a billet owner, make sure you maintain the information in that requisition, make sure it's accurate, and also place your bids, picking your agents. So as a billet owner, you can see everyone who preferenced that job in Talent Marketplace. And then again, you can rank order who you would like to gain into your unit. Again, that bid doesn't correspond to selecting that person, doesn't correspond to selection. It's one piece of the communication puzzle. So those are kind of symbolize the 3 pieces of the Talent Marketplace communication, but really we bring that into kind of a whole decision-making process where there's literally probably 100 other variables to include your group, crew position, experience levels, things like that, to make sure that we're enabling all the units across the MAF enterprise to make sure they have the right people on their UMD for those UMD positions, as well as execute their back statement and mission. Just to give you some perspective on Talent Marketplace, this is actually from the winter VML, so we're in summer VML now. This is the previous VML. Is there a pointer on here? Maybe not. I don't want to mess it up, but you can look at the bottom line. So for the 535th Airlift Squadron, C-17 Squadron at Hickam, there was 48 volunteers. I think there was about 4 or 5 people that went there over the winter VML. This summer VML, there's 203 people who preferenced Hickam. And again, you're probably looking at about 4 or 5 people going there. So, some of the more highly preferenced locations, Hawaii, Ramstein, anywhere in Europe, Colorado Springs is actually really popular. Just realize that there's relatively few billets there, and there's a lot of people preferencing those. So when you're using Talent Marketplace, shoot for the moon. Please put your dream job on there. 1, 2, 3, whatever interests you out there, but also give us some more, I don't want to say more realistic, but more probable preferences as well. It's not going to mean that, well, they put Hickam on, but they put Altus number 11, so I'm just going to give them Altus. That's not how we do it. We kind of go by your priority and try and pair you with the best possible job in accordance with your personal and professional goals that we can, while meeting the Air Force requirements that we have to during that particular VML. So please, shoot for the moon, but also give us some more probable preferences as well. And I'm happy to answer more questions on Talent Marketplace as we get to that portion of the presentation. Okay, we'll talk some AFPC hot topics. Who's worried about 365s at some point in the future? Yeah? Okay, there's a lot of good news on this front. The amount of 365s have been drastically reduced. Some of those have been converted into 2 times 180, 179-day deployments. Some have been removed altogether. Some have been sent to Shaw Air Force Base to do basically a remote position that used to be located at the KAOC. So there's drastically fewer 365s. I don't think we have non-vaulted somebody to a 365, and DP, you can back me up on this, for about a year, if not 2. In fact, we're having the opposite problem, where since I've been in the seat since July, I've had about 2 or 3 requests for a 365 and have not been able to line them up with one because there's none available. So it's not the same threat that used to exist that you may be kind of have heard about previously or grew up with in the Air Force. White jets. This is a more probable scenario than the 365. So white jets, they're always going to be there. This particular cycle, there's a slightly larger number than probably on average, but you can expect white jets are always going to be part of every VNO. And going forward, as DP said, sometime between your second and third assignment, the most likely scenario is that you'll have a white jet tour. So as we progress down the road 5 to 6 years from now, as you look to your left and your right, you're not necessarily going to be the lone person with white jet experience. It's going to be very common. So that's potentially something culturally that maybe we're not ingrained with yet, but that's going to be the reality moving forward. Pilots Chase, Pilots Front, those are options for exiting active duty. Pilots Chase, I'll talk about a little bit here more in detail as we progress through the slides, but the difference between Pilots Chase and Pilots Front, and then KC-46 assignments in the near future. And then we'll end the formal portion of the briefing with talking about some C-17 updates and C-5 and KC-10 as well. Okay, I talked through most of this already. Again, 365s aren't nearly as big a threat as they used to be. Most have been converted to 179, basically X-band, wing level taskings. There are a handful of remotes out there still, and I can talk about the differences between a 365 and a remote in a second. And then a lot of, the number one question that we have historically received is where am I on the list for 365s? And it depends, right? It depends on your rank, the position, if it's a flying position, if it's a staff position, what are the requirements to fill that position. So you could be on a bunch of different lists at one time, or you could be on no list at one time. It really depends on that day and what the job is. But again, don't let that keep you up at night, because we haven't had to non-ball someone there for a really long time. Okay, 365s versus a remote. So what is it? A 365 is a deployment. It's an extended TDY where you are staying on the books at your, if you get tagged with 365 here in Travis, you're staying on the books at Travis. There's some other options where you can early, PCS to your follow-on location beforehand, but you're staying on some home station books while you're gone, while you're deployed. A remote is a PCS. It's a 1-year short tour. So you are going through just a normal PCS to that remote location. You'll be there for a year. Usually, there's some options for 2-year company remotes as well. AEF Online, anybody know where AEF Online is? Have you checked that out? You can get through the portal. So go to the portal, search for AEF Online. You can see all the current 365 opportunities out there, as well as more information regarding 365 experience. And then how's remote advertised? Just the same way we do with any other PCS. So it's a remote, but it's a PCS. So you'll see that in Talent Marketplace. You can preference that. Build owners can bid on you to fulfill a 365. The advanced assignment process is affiliated with the 365, but as assignment officers, we can also entertain the ideas of giving you an advanced assignment for volunteering for a relatively difficult remote to fill as well. So it's 365s and remotes can be ways to take a little bit of, get more control in kind of the next few years of your career. Can it bring a family? 365, no, those are going to be deployments. A remote, there is the opportunity for to take your family. It's infrequent, but it's possible, particularly locations like Korea, where you can apply for an accompanied remote, where you can go for 2 years and bring your family along. That's the exception, not the rule. And then, like I talked about for preference, advanced assignments 365, yes. You'll be notified of that opportunity before you sign anything or get going down the road of fulfilling your 365. And then for the remote opportunity, yes. But that's going to be conditional based on your assignment team and kind of the needs of the Air Force at that time, the difficulty in filling that position. But it's not uncommon to get an advanced assignment with remote as well. But if you're going to something like a remote in Italy, probably not likely, because there's going to be a ton of volunteers for that position. But both earn you short tour credit. which is pretty great. Short tour, basically, if you're I'm talking about the list of a 365, if you have a short tour, you're going to be at the bottom of that list. And just to give you a frame of reference for those lists, it's rank specific. So if you are an 08 major or older, like I'm 07, so I'm in that group, and you don't have a short tour, you're probably somewhere on the quote unquote list that I talked about. If you're an 02 year group or older lieutenant colonel, you're probably in the realm of possible for 365 or remote consideration as well. Okay, that's what AEF Online looks like. Just search for it on the portal. It's pretty easy to find. Okay, white jets. These are the numbers for this current cycle. So 277 for the Air Force. The MAF absorbed 145 of those. It's probably a little bit higher than average, like I was saying. But you should expect to see white jets as a staple of every VML that you're on. If you haven't popped on a VML yet, or this is your first one, you'll see them again. We got about 90 T6s, 40 T1s, and 15 T38s. So 15 T38s, there's not a whole lot of T38s, relatively speaking. People with a T38 background in the MAF, the MAF is still required to provide T38 white jet assignments. Priorities given to production bases, lawful and advanced in Columbus. There are white jet opportunities at the Air Force Academy Airfield as well, Pensacola, Whiting. Those aren't necessarily a focus of priority because they're relatively easy to fill. There's a lot of members that are preferencing that. Okay, Palace Chase. The short and simple answer on the difference is Palace Chase is you apply for a curtailment to your active duty ADSC to join the Guard or Reserves early. 6 months usually doesn't cause any reason for anyone batting an eye. It's fairly common to get a 6-month request or less approved. Anything greater than 6 months is uncommon. So expectation management considered uncommon if you're requesting more than that. We do see them approved for kind of extenuating personal hardship or things like that, family reasons, but if it's just because a job lines up or for other kind of career or personal reasons, 6 months, greater than 6 months is kind of hard to do. But it's case by case, so please apply. It'll come through our desk and we'll review it. We'll recommend approval or disapproval, but the ultimate approval or disapproval is going to be with the Secretary of the Air Force. And again, we don't see greater than 6 months approved too frequently. Palace Front is similar, but you're not asking for a curtailment. When your active duty ADSC expires, on today, tomorrow you roll into your Guard or Reserve unit. Both programs, it helps out if you already have basically a hiring letter with the unit you're going to go into, saying that, hey, I have reasonable assurity that once I finish active duty, I'm going to be picked up immediately by my associate unit. Okay, KC-46 assignments. So everybody knows the KC-10 is being divested and methodically transitioning to the KC-46. But there's not enough KC-10 folks to fill all the KC-46 requirements coming online. And we're going to need to use other MWS folks to kind of fill in the gap as we transition throughout that whole timeline. So you will see a few opportunities on this assignment cycle to transition to the KC-46, but you're going to see a lot more starting in the winter 21-22, so the one after this. And a year from now, next summer cycle, you're going to see quite a bit more. So you're going to see KC-46 opportunity becoming more and more of a reality. And that'll be a mechanical cross-flow versus the Phoenix Horizon program that I'll talk about here in a second. So basically you would go to initial qualification for the KC-46 as a mechanical cross-flow. All right, so Travis C-17 manning specifically. So I know you guys are all mostly over there. Any other D-liners over here? So I don't want to block you out as I'm looking. But across the C-17 enterprise, we're overmanned. As DP was talking about The RMD directs us to about 95 to 100% manning. We're slightly over that across the enterprise at large. Even here at Travis, you guys are probably closest to the directed limit, but we're still a little bit over manned. So it's just part of our job as AOs. We're managing the manning across the force so that we can meet all of our mission requirements in C-17, but also provide members to fill in all the other areas of the rated enterprise at large and the math enterprise specifically, like AMLO, CR, contingency response, other jobs like that. The C-17 force represents a little more than a third of the entire math. So we're huge. There's about 2,000 of us that have a C-17 rhythm, which is basically a code in your profile that says, I have flown a C-17 at some point and still part of that community. So there's about 2,000 of us, and there's about 500 on any VML. So there's a lot of us at any time moving through the system. Copilot and IP were a little bit heavy. It's pretty inexpensive, relatively speaking, to gain a UPT graduate into the C-17 community because most of our PIQ course is simulator based. It's not the case for some of the other initial quals. So we get a lot of co-pilots. Historically, over the last 10 years, we've sent a lot of people to UPT on their second assignment, which we're going to start transitioning away from, kind of having more of a balanced approach to filling the UPT requirements. And what that's done is it's caused our IP manning to be a little high too, because we gained those folks back from UPT after about 3 years doing the white jet assignment. Then they come back, and they're either a relatively new IP or they've got to kind of upgrade to IP. So we have a little bit of a bathtub of experienced ACs and experienced IPs that have 2 to 3 consecutive full C-17 flying assignments. So expectation moving forward, like I kind of alluded to previously, about half to 2/3 of any VML movers will PCS outside the C-17. So you can go to UPT, you can go to contingency response, AMLO. Some of those positions are available to be attached to a C-17 unit to continue flying. But the expectation is about half to 2/3 will go to an assignment that is not in a line fly C-17 unit. So what are my options? I mean, DP talked a lot about a lot of these already, so I'm just going to hit a couple of points specific to the C-17. So although the common assignments are the same, as far as those half to 2/3, where are you going to go? Air Mobility Liaison Officer and Contingency Response, I can talk more about that if you have questions as well. I was an AMLO previously. It's an awesome assignment. And as far as I'm concerned, AMLO and CR, you really get a kind of a grassroots perspective on what rapid global mobility means to the user, and a really solid understanding of the entire air mobility system, even in greater detail than you would just being in a line fly unit, right? You see how ops happens from the line fly perspective here, what you're doing now, but in CR and AMLO, you get kind of an empathy for the user and the things they struggle with and how you can smooth that out for them to make the system work a little better. DP talked about a lot of the uncommon assignments. I want to harp on that last line there, especially for the C-17 folks, but then Phoenix Horizon for everybody in the room. So we talked about, hey, a majority of you will have non-C-17 line fly experience at some point in your second and third assignment. If you know that you want to stay in the C-17 and get to, improve your level of knowledge and deep dive into C-17, look into weapons school. So SWAP, he's a weapons school graduate. Great person to talk to about this. If you're low, you have been tagged and you've been invested in by the Air Force to be a PhD level expert in tactical employment of the C-17 and integrating the C-17 and the Joint Coalition fight across the full range of military operations. So if that's you, if you're in your first assignment, second assignment, and want to stay in the C-17, look at weapons school. At least talk to SWAP about it. You have some good insight. The Phoenix Horizon program is a similar it's similar in that it's boarded and you're selected for a specific purpose, but the Phoenix Horizon program is going to give you the opportunity to cross-flow to another NAF weapon system, whether that's airlift to tanker, tanker to airlift, or somewhere within those two communities. But it's going to give you a broadening experience, and you're going to be an IP level expert in two airframes within the NAF. So when you're that senior leader at the decision-making table later on down the road, you can speak at the expert level from two different points of view. So weapon school is going to give you that deep dive into a particular weapon system, and Phoenix Horizon is going to give you that broadening. And Phoenix Horizon can also go to a contingency response. So I'm going to need to see our folks in here. No? But Phoenix Mobility will give you an opportunity to go to a contingency response squadron to get that perspective as well. And then Phoenix Torch is going to basically pull you a little bit early to go to Scott, to go to the AMC or TACC staff to get about 2 years of staff experience. And then you can either cross-flow or go back to your initial weapon system from there. Both of those programs are going to be somewhere between the 4 and 8 year mark, is when you're kind of in the sweet spot for that.
Thanks, Logan. I grabbed the clicker too.
I will hit a quick C5 and then KC10 update, and then we'll open it up for questions. So for the
C5's here, Travis. This is just me.
let me go.
For the C5's here, Travis. This is my.
A little lower.
All right, so for Travis, we're higher on the co-pilots for the FPs, and then we're lower on the IPs.
We have
A large
pool of co-pilots
that we're working to upgrade, and we're working with the FTU down in Texas
to get an FPCO classes.
to upgrade you guys on the timeline that we'd like to. Looking forward, so we're going to try to retain for the next couple of VMLs as many of our experienced air crews as we can. So with the
ACs, the IPs, and the evaluators as well.
we're looking to retain as many of you into the C5 as we can
To continue to grow that crew force here at Travis.
And I already mentioned the increased PCOs. For this next VML, what you can expect is an increase in the coast to coast. So we'll probably be sending anywhere
From 3 to 5 from each of the C5 units to the opposite
coast,
from Travis to Dover,
and Dover back to Travis. And that's
to
to
keep that experience in our crew force that we have here.
for the white jets,
As Logan mentioned, across all of the airframes, we're
Yeah.
going to see an increase in white.
and then there are animal opportunities out there, as well as limited and OSA and staff for the C5 as well as the other units. We already kind of hit some of the main hot topics for the white
White jets. Continue to work with your squadron commander, to work with Colonel Trumbull, to work all of your assignment preferences, and then let me know today over the next couple days what you guys have.
for your one-on-ones. One thing I did want to mention for the C5,
C5 specifically, so after you return, or after you do a non-ops tour,
some
things
things
to think about are, we need you back in the C5. So we really need your experience to come back to the C5 and to help our units out.
So just because you
You
go
go
to
to UPT or something like that, or you go to a staff assignment, we still need your experience back, especially in the C5, but all the other MWS as well, back into the C5.
for the KC10, some things to think about. So for Travis here, we're at 100%
We're pretty much within our 95 to 100%
window, and then we are a little bit lower on the co-pilots, and then we're higher on the MPs. The IPs are pretty much where we need it
for the IPs and the
EPs, but we
are continuing to try to
to man
the
the
aircraft and the aircrew quals where we need them. And we are going to see probably a decrease in the level of instructors and EPs
over these next couple of assignment cycles. So you can expect more PCLs. We've been working with McGuire and Travis actually.
to trade out potentially some of our ACIQ classes so we can have more PCOs
So our younger co-pilots, we can upgrade you quicker
as soon as you have the hours and the skill levels required to
upgrade to aircraft commander. We will have fewer inbounds into the KC-10, specifically here at Travis, and then increased outbounds. One of the reasons for that, obviously,
these aircraft divestment. The things to think about, we are divesting
in the KC-10 as an enterprise,
and not just by a wing or base. So we will have increased assignments from Travis and McGuire over these next VMLs to smooth flow the transition. so we can provide all of you the assignments and the preferences that are higher on your list, and not just wait all the way until the end of investment to try to match you to assignments.
And common hot topics in summer for VML, so I already touched on most of these, but we will see increased coast-to-coast
To Travis, we will bring additional pilots from McGuire to Travis as compared to kind of the even cross-flow you've seen in the past. And that is to help the smooth flow, like I said, and to also balance out the manning to make sure we're where we need to be on both coasts. One of the exciting things you will see is the start of MWS crossflow. Like Logan mentioned, we are transitioning a lot of folks from the KC-10 to the 46. I'm just going to stop this. You guys all hear me in the back? All right, awesome. Sorry, it'd be easier than the modulating volume. So for the KC-10, there are lots of opportunities into the 46, but there are also lots of opportunities into other MWSs. And so all of you will see that on this assignment cycle. So your commanders, Colonel Stubendorf and Colonel Alberico here at Travis, have been working with me over this past weekend and this past several months. And so you can expect to see cross-flow assignments into other MWS communities, not just the 46, we have a large need for that, but other MWS as well, like C-17, C-5, 130, and 135, the whole gamut. So all of those are on the table, and all of those are options. There will be quite a few opportunities for McConnell and Altus for the KC-10 pilots, and there will be a few opportunities, especially like for our senior instructors or evaluators at the FTU, to go straight to Altus and become an FTU instructor in the 46. That's just because we're growing the community, even though you don't have your prior KC-46 experience, you have that airmanship, and you have that level of expertise that we're looking for. So those are options to go straight to Altus as an FTU instructor. And the rest are pretty similar, so there will be white assignments, limited notice, and staff. And then some specific hot topics for the KC-10. Continue to update your OIPs, so your individual officer plans, with your squadron commanders. And then we'll update those cycle by cycle, and I'll be talking to your commanders to make sure that I have your most up-to-date preferences when we start to match you to assignments. And the last thing, just the big foot stomper there, is that we're divesting the KC-10 aircraft, not its aircrew. We need every single one of you in the Air Force, specifically in ANC. So your commanders and I and our whole AO team are working to find all of you, like the assignment that we talked about earlier, the right place, right person, right time, to match you to a new MWS home. Whether that's after a UPT assignment or after a staff assignment, 3 or 4 years from now, or it's the summer VML or the next winter VML, trying to find a new MWS home for you. So we really value all of your airmanship, your expertise, and all of the great skills you have in the KC-10, and we need you in another MWS in the next few months to a few years. So with that, I think we're set up here. If you have additional questions, obviously the one-on-ones, we'll open it up for Q&A right now. Always reach out to your commander or your AMC A1K team is also a great source for professional development questions. And obviously, if you aren't able to get in touch with your commander for whatever reason or something like that, or you can always call us directly. We always encourage the line fly units, just because of the sheer amount of folks that we help manage assignments for, to work through your squadron commanders. So, what questions do you guys have? And this will be for all across the board. Logan can help out. Maybe Logan's microphone. Check. Yeah, go for it.
When I was in UPT, we had a lot of people coming from MWSs, and they're getting kind of 2-year deals, where they do 2 years at UPT, and then 2 years out at Randolph. Is that would we be able to see that in there, like someone was to go in, or how would someone get a deal like that?
So for those, those are available. Those you can work through us, and also the White Jet assignment officer team. Those aren't necessarily going to be something visible in Talent Marketplace, but just after, when you've gotten your first year and a half or so in your UPT assignment, you can reach out to your functional and say, hey, I'm interested in doing another 2 years, but not at this location. Is there something else we can do to switch? And that way you still do 4 years in UPT in a White Jet assignment, but you can switch out different locations if you're interested in that. It's not always available. It's always available, but it's not always something we can promise to absolutely everybody that asks for it. Yep. Yeah.
So you mentioned an increase of coast to coast for KC-10s from Travis to McGuire. Do you know how much
the majority of those from this point forward will be officers that are interested in the 46. Because we don't want to send someone from here to McGuire to just have to find them a new MWS home somewhere else, and then potentially uproot, them, their family, and everything else, a year and a half later. So for the officers that we're sending now from Travis to McGuire, they're officers that are interested in finding the KC-10, for another 6 months, another year, something like that, but they're interested in then onboarding right there at McGuire into the 46. Yeah, and then from McGuire to Travis, we are still bringing officers that are only interested in the 10, or potentially interested in the 10 for, a few years, and then 46 or something else, whether it's a C5 or C17 here later on.
Hey, Jared, do you have any updates on the pipeline in terms of training and Altus for the 46? Any other word on what they got to do? Basis for the trainer, Altus and the model, kind of the 46 guys doing right now training.
Yeah, so for the KC-46, General Van Ovest has approved the temporary FTUs at the mode, so the main operating bases. The timeline that they're standing them up has yet to be solidified in stone, but they're expecting early this winter / late spring for McConnell to actually start training at about the same rate that Altus is right now for KC-46 folks. And then once McGuire receives aircraft starting next December in 21, the following January, February right now is what they're aiming for the KC-46. Again, about the same amount of production as Altus currently at McGuire. And then for Travis in the FY 23-24 timeframe, if they need additional training capacity based on the current production at that point at Altus, McConnell, and McGuire, they might also stand up a temp FTU here at Travis. Right now, those are still planned on being temporary, and like I said, those dates aren't solidified yet, but that's the current plan. Because between now and fiscal year 23, just so you guys know, we're going to need about 330 KC-46 pilots. So if you do the math, one FTU cannot increase enough folks in that short amount of time. And that's why it's not just from the KC-10, but all the MWSs where we're seeking, seeking volunteers, seeking pilots to man the 46. Yeah.
I don't know if it's unrealistic or because of professional development and stuff like that. Just wanted to ask a question while I have you. So if KC-46 squadron was stood up here, could a C-17, C-5, or even KC-10 pilot stay at Travis and fly the KC-46 for another 3 years after their first assignment? Or would that be kind of against the mold for professional development?
So that definitely is a possibility. So for that, you'll need, whether you're going to the 46 or any other type of assignment where you're leaving your primary MWS, you'll need your assignment officers, like for C-17s, you need Logan's functional release to go into that new MWS, in this case the 46. And then one of our big goals from the AMC commander is the predictability and stability for our pilots and our aircrew force. So if we can keep you at a certain location and that provides you or your family or your relatives, whatever is going on, that stability for 5-6 years at a location, we'll seek to do that. Like you mentioned, there are some professional development implications, possibly if you stay in the same wing for that long. So we'll make sure that we're looking at that based on your year group and your timing, talking with your commanders and your leadership to make sure that's a good plan for you. But that definitely will be an option for some of our officers. Yep.
Yeah. You mentioned short tours. Is that only for the current zone flight? Short tour the pilot system? Does that help towards current officer?
So yes, those timelines that he talked about, like for the 02 or the 08 year group, will be a little bit different for prior enlisted. Yes, sir. But overall, the same experience and getting short tour credit, all of that same stuff still applies.
Also, as you progress through ranks, you kind of go into different buckets. So you may have a short tour on record as, say you're a captain now or a major now. Once you pin on that X rank, you go into another bucket. So, immediately after you pin on, you're probably a little less susceptible than some of the others in that rank who have been pinned on for 4 or 5 years. But that's why we talked about, where am I on the list is a big question. It depends. It really depends on what the job is, what your current rank is, and what qualifications you have. Really depends. So there's no one list out there. So it helps, but it may not be the thing that keeps you out of getting selected down the road.
So there is a definite possibility of that. Right now, that timeline is also not finalized, but we're expecting somewhere in the FY 23 to 25 time zone. Currently, the plan is for the T1 to be phased out. We don't know the basis or that specific timeline yet. So that is one of the things we're talking about with, each of you as we write those assignments and your commanders, potentially the T1s, and to say, hey, if you are going to a T1 assignment, there is a possibility that maybe, for this summer, if you're leaving, summer 21, potentially maybe you'd only do that for 2 years and then switch over to T6 or something else at that same location. But you might be able to do, a full 3 or 4 years in the T1. It just really depends right now. All those kind of possibilities are up in the air. But if and when that, FY 23 rolls around, they start phasing out the T1, then there will be less assignments between now and then. Yeah.
Just to piggyback on that, is that just gonna see an increase in T6s, or are we gonna start going into like the new trainer as well? Or do we have an idea of what that's like for pilots in the future?
So for that, I haven't been briefed yet on by ETC or from the HAF if there's going to be an increase on T6 assignments. That one I'm not sure of yet. Yeah.
For base, is that not on the electric tour, or and would that make it more susceptible to go back?
Yes, it doesn't make you more susceptible to go back. No, that does count as already having done one light dip tour. Yep. As a FAPE, it does open up some more opportunities for you later on if you're interested in teaching at PIT or something like that. So that's definitely an option. There are opportunities for a few officers to potentially go to PIT that weren't prior FAPEs or have prior white dip experience. But those are fewer than for the officers that do have that experience. But it doesn't make you necessarily more susceptible to UPT tour. One of the things we're trying to balance across all the different MWSs is trying to make sure that we fair share all those different assignments. If someone already has a white dip assignment, or already has a staff assignment, already has an OSA assignment, whatever it is, we're trying to make sure that we provide all those opportunities equitably across the course for everybody.
Yeah, the goal is just to have, keep you in your primary MWS, for 2 of those first 3 assignments. So if you knock out the white jet on the first one, we're probably not going to have to come back and ask you to go back, unless it's to Randolph, which Randolph opens up other doors to kind of get more of a full range perspective of, how do we do pilot training, and then opens further doors into ATC leadership types of capacities. And going to pilot training, opens doors in and of itself. It basically doubles, if not more than doubles, the amount of leadership opportunities you have down the road. And you guys don't have to look any further than your wing commander here, Colonel Simmons. He did a white jet tour. He was a wing commander, advance. It's not, culturally, I think sometimes we think of going to white jets as this door that closes, but it's not at all. It's going to be kind of the expectation going forward, and it opens doors. It's nothing to be anxious about as far as, we're not going to bring you back or anything like that.
Being a white hat instructor as well, when you have that T code or an FTU instructor, is also something that's viewed on your promotion board for 05 or for an 05 when they look at your OPB, so that professional brief, when they're considering that. And that gives you the same T code, and that gives you the same, there's only a few things on that piece of paper that promotion board sees right on top. And having that T code, it gives you that same thing as like the officer, instructor, and recruiting special duty, that OINR's T code, as well as being like a ROTC instructor, a BMT instructor, all those things, which the SECAF, says they value very much for all of our promotions. What else?
It's got to be more. Nothing else.
Yeah.
The FAO program, I heard that now it's becoming its own thing. How does it work for people that want to continue flying and they can't do it because they're
So right now, we are waiting on that PSTM to be published, and I think it's going to spell all those details out. So I don't know for sure. What I'm expecting to kind of hear, there might be 2 potential options, but that's hasn't been finalized yet. So what there might be options for would be to continue as FAO, line fly, FAO, line fly, or to say, hey, I want to commit to FAO all in. That's That's what they're discussing right now, but we'll see what they actually release in the beginning. Hopefully soon is what I've been hearing.
Yeah. There are FAO flying jobs too. A lot of the C-12 embassy jobs are considered FAO, so could maybe the best of both worlds if you want to do that.
Yeah.
Just to clarify, is there a 46 FTU at McGuire currently, or is that McGuire leads that has to go to the office?
So there's not a 46 FTU at McGuire currently. Yes, so the majority of the training is being done at Altus. There is some additional training that AMC right now is working at McConnell, but that isn't the official 10th FTU at McConnell. So the majority of the training is at Altus. Yep. Yeah.
I was wondering if you guys could expand on like the AMLO and CR type of stuff. I mean, I'm a kind of young officer, so I don't really know exactly what those are, what that really entails.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I was in AMLO, and I would probably say it was the most interesting job I've had so far. I don't know. Anybody ever seen the movie Fury? You know, it's the best job I ever had. I feel like that at every job I go to. But AMLO was awesome. What you're going to be is most AMLOs, your squadron will be located at McGuire, so you'll be geographically separated from your squadron. And you'll be either the lone Air Force mobility representative for an Army unit at the division or corps level, or for some of the bigger Army installations, there may be 3 to 5 of you at like a Fort Hood, Fort Campbell type location. And what you're going to be is the expert for any sort of transcom issue that the Army needs. And the Army uses transcom every day, all day. That's how they get around. So a lot of it is going to be information that you already kind of understand as an aircraft commander, instructor in your MWS. So these critical kind of questions that the user has, you're going to be able to answer like that, and you're going to be the hero of the day. And they're going to think you executed some sort of crazy wizardry and give you a lot of credit, but it's really just kind of stuff that we do every day. There are going to be a lot of tough challenges that you're going to have to work through with folks at Scott. You've got a direct line to the 18th Air Force commander. It's called Direct Liaison Authority, DIRLOF, with the 18th Air Force. I never had to call the 18th Air Force commander, but directly, but you're authorized to do that. And you're basically coordinating any sort of airlift needs, load planning, contingency response that the Army or Marine Corps unit has under their mission set. So I thought it was awesome. And you get to do a lot of cool things with the Army too. You get to exercises with them. You can go to some of the Army pool schools. I went to Air Assault School. You can go to jump school. We've had a couple AMLOs do Pathfinder. I don't think we've had an AMLO do Ranger yet. Usually because you're a little old for that by the time you get there. But if you're all for it, you can meet the pre-Ranger qualification. You can talk to Jay Weaver's the Lieutenant Colonel Weaver. He's the squadron commander of the AMLOs now. Ranger may be a little out there, but some of the other cool schools you can do for sure. And it's a lot of fun. And there's going to be no better joint experience you can have, even on like a joint staff, as far as getting to know what the Army or what the Marine Corps does and what they need and what's important to them, how their personalities are, how their personalities kind of come together at like the decision-making table, how you fit in there, and what you can do to smooth out any problem sets that they're going to have. And you can kind of see where the problems are going to arise based on the conversations you're hearing with the user, and then kind of head them off at the trail. It was awesome. Contingency response is a little different. CR, you guys have CR here, so you're probably more familiar with it than most, but you're going to be doing some of that bare bones air mobility enterprise work in kind of some remote or austere locations, or augmenting command and control for contingency type responses or outboards or things like that. And also you're integrating with the user kind of at the grassroots level, setting up airfields, setting up kind of more austere C2 networks. things like that. So you get a similar perspective. And I would encourage anyone kind of looking at more of a non-standard second or third assignment to look into CR or AMLO. Any other questions on that, or did I answer it? Okay. Yeah. Anything else? Yeah.
How often do you see animal guys, they're in the basketball?
Did you say keep it?
Yeah, keep them at the basketball.
Yeah, most are going to be attached in attached line status. So most are AP6, which is basically a staff category where you get to have an attached line experience as well. Some of the like lieutenant colonel positions may not necessarily be there, because they're gate complete. But if you're a young officer and you still have, especially less than 128 gates, we're going to do everything we can to make sure you have an attached flying position, so that you're able to have more doors open to you when you're done versus having the hand forced. You got to go back and fly somewhere quickly and complete your gates.
Yeah, the majority of them will be attached flight.
Yeah, I was attached to fly. I mean, it's a little bit tougher. It'll probably be. I viewed it similarly to being on like a wing staff, where you're not necessarily flying any and every mission that you want to, but you can kind of plan it out and fly when you can.
Awesome. Any more questions? All right, we have the one-on-ones with all of you this afternoon as well as tomorrow. So any additional questions, we'll be up here at the front too. If there's something you want to ask us personally right now, and not another group, happy to answer all questions you guys have. So look forward to meeting all of you, and thanks for your time today. Appreciate it.
My mask on, so I COVID. Nice and done. Thanks. Appreciate it. Thanks for coming.